Before the blade ever fell, they already broke her. Marie Antoinette, once the glittering Queen of Versailles, laughing in silk gowns and diamond light, was turned into a ghost in a damp stone cell. They didn't just want her dead. They wanted her destroyed. Stripped of her children, her privacy, her name. Watched every second by cold-eyed guards. Forced to dress, eat, sleep under their stare. No moment alone. No dignity left. The revolution called her a monster, a thief, a traitor. But inside that tiny, dripping prison, she was just a terrified mother clinging to a lock of her little boy's hair. For 76 long days in the Conciergerie, the waiting room to the guillotine, they tried to crush her spirit completely. What came before the scaffold was far worse than the blade itself. This is the real, heartbreaking story of her final humiliation, and how she found quiet strength in the darkness. Stay with me. You won't believe what they did next. In the dead of night, August 2, 1793, they ripped Marie Antoinette from the Temple prison. Alone. No goodbye to her children. No last hug. Guards dragged her through dark streets to the Conciergerie, a grim, wet fortress by the Seine. Parisians called it the antechamber of death. She became prisoner number 280. No more queen. Just a number. Her cell was small, cold, always damp. Water dripped from the ceiling like endless tears. A pile of straw for a bed. One flickering candle. 2 gendarmes stood watch day and night, never blinking, never leaving. They watched her eat scraps of bread. They watched her try to sleep. They watched her change clothes behind a flimsy screen that gave zero privacy. Every move recorded. Every whisper noted. The revolution wanted her broken before the trial even started. But in that suffocating silence, she held on to one thing: memories of her son Louis Charles. His terrified screams still echoed in her head. Just weeks earlier, in July 1793, revolutionaries burst into the Temple at midnight. They came for her 8-year-old son, the little prince. Marie Antoinette threw herself over him, begging, "He's only a child." They tore her away anyway. His cries haunted her forever. She never saw him again. In her corset, she had a tiny portrait and a lock of his golden hair, the last pieces of warmth in her frozen world. Rosalie Lamorlière, the young servant assigned to her, saw the truth. The queen stayed strong in front of guards. But when they talked about the children, the royal mask fell. She whispered their names like prayers. Tears came only then. Rosalie later wrote how that unfortunate princess broke down in private, devastated. The guards mocked her. They taunted her about her dead husband. Every insult was designed to wound. Yet she answered with silence. Slow movements. Soft voice. No fear shown. In that hell, dignity became her quiet rebellion, days blurred into weeks. No clocks. Time was measured by guard boots thudding, distant revolutionary drums, and the Seine murmuring outside. Marie Antoinette's cell smelled of whetstone and despair. She had almost nothing: a wooden screen for fake privacy, guards ignored it, a single candle that barely lit the dark. Vendors shouted in the streets above, life went on without her. She replayed her old life in the candle's glow, grand balls at Versailles, her children laughing in palace gardens, the growing hate outside the gates. When did she become the symbol everyone despised? No answer came. Only more dripping water. More staring eyes. More 76 dawns without hope. Yet something shifted inside her. Stripped of crown, jewels, freedom, she found a strange calm. A composure that only comes when you've lost everything and have nothing left to fear. The woman France hated was quietly becoming unbreakable. October 14, 1793. Dawn. The iron door opened. Not for food. Not for mockery. For trial. Soldiers marched her through echoing corridors. She wore the same black dress she'd mourned her husband in. Steps steady. Face pale but calm. The revolutionary tribunal was packed, spectators, torches, hate in the air. It felt more like theater than justice. Prosecutor Fouquier Tinville performed like an actor. Treason. Conspiracy with Austria. Wasting France's money. Corrupting morals. Each charge brought cheers and fists pounding. Facts didn't matter. They needed a villain for years of hunger and war. Marie Antoinette got no real defense. No time to prepare. She spoke quietly when allowed, denying it all with tired honesty. Witnesses lied. Pamphlet stories became evidence. Decadent feasts. Mocking banquets. The crowd roared. But the worst was coming. The room went silent when Tinville raised the final, vile accusation: incest. With her own son. The prosecutor waved a paper. Louis Charles, coerced and brainwashed, had confessed horrors he couldn't understand. The gallery froze. Even some revolutionaries looked away. Marie Antoinette sat like stone. Then she stood. Not facing the judges. She turned to the women in the crowd, the same market women who once stormed Versailles for bread. In a clear, ringing voice, I appeal to all the mothers here. No more needed. Gasps. Murmurs. Tears. For one moment, the monster vanished. Just a grieving mother, humiliated beyond words. Tinville slammed the table, furious. The mood had shifted. Guilt flickered on faces. She sat again, exhausted. That single line took her last strength. The trial dragged 2 days, scripted, fake. Witnesses invented scandals. Cheers drowned truth. At dawn October 16th, guilty. High treason. Death by guillotine. She shook her head at their question. What more could I add? Back in her cell that night. October 15th. Silence so thick even dripping water sounded loud. Marie Antoinette returned pale, trembling, but peaceful. Not hope. Acceptance. Rosalie brought broth. She refused gently. I need nothing more, my child. Everything is finished for me. She sat staring at shadows. Then took quill and paper. Hand shook, but writing steady. A final letter to her sister-in-law, Madame Elizabeth. No anger. No blame. Only forgiveness. Care for my daughter. Pray for little Louis Charles. Tell him I don't hold him responsible, he was misled, used as a pawn to hurt me. Tell him I pray for him. Even in heaven, I'll still be his mother, her spirit lifted with every word. This was her true testament. But revolutionaries seized it. Hid it for decades. When she finished, she watched the candle die. Wax trailed like tears. Rosalie cried. "Do not weep," she said softly. We must die decently in midnight. Guards came with the last order. Cold. Ordinary. Like announcing breakfast. She nodded. Asked for one moment alone. Knelt. Prayed, not for herself, but her children. Then rose. Dawn crept in. Paris woke, indifferent. She fixed her hair. Wiped her face. Calm. Eerie calm. Rosalie heard her whisper, "May God give me strength to die with courage." Candle out. Darkness swallowed the cell. She waited. No dreams. Just waiting. Sunrise. Bolts clanged. It is time. 3 men entered, clerk, officer, executioner Charles-Henri Sanson and helpers. Ritual began. Change clothes. From black mourning dress, her last link to Louis, to rough white chemise of penitence. She asked for privacy. Guard laughed. No queens here. They watched. Humiliation complete. Then Sanson, your hair must be cut. She bowed her head. Rusty scissors hacked. White strands fell like pieces of her past. Grief had turned her hair pale. No protest. Just quiet surrender. Hands bound tight. Rope bit skin. She winced but swallowed pain. My husband wasn't bound, she said softly. No answer. One last request, to relieve herself. They allowed it with disdain. Even that became spectacle. She stepped back. Looked at Rosalie tenderly. Do not weep for me. I have suffered too much to fear death. God bless you. Then the corridor. Guards removed hats. Eyes down. Involuntary respect. At the gate, open wooden cart. 4 criminals. No closed carriage like the king got. Display only. Morning air sharp. Bells rang. Shouts rose. She climbed in alone. Bound wrists. Lifted face to gray sky. Inhaled. Whispered to Rosalie, now my peace begins. Cart rolled. Journey to death started. Crowd jeered. Insults flew. Austrian thief. Widow Capet. But she stood tall. Motionless. Upright. Silent. The woman they wanted broken looked strangely free. The cart creaked through muddy streets. Over an hour. Thousands lined the way. Wanted to see her fall. Through stale bread. Mocked. But her silence unsettled them. No tears. No bowing. Gaze fixed ahead. Wind tugged cropped hair. White gown fluttered. Jacques-Louis David sketched from a balcony, long neck, firm jaw, serene eyes. Capturing myth and history colliding. Cart jolted. She stumbled. Crowd murmured. But she straightened herself. No help. Market women watched, the ones who marched for bread years ago. She doesn't look afraid, one whispered. Nothing left to lose, another said. Inside the noise, she felt peace. Free from court politics. Rumors. Fear. For the first time in years, free. Final corner turned. Place de la Revolution opened. Guillotine towered. Dark frame. Gleaming blade. Crowd roared. Marie Antoinette lifted her chin. In chaos, tranquility washed over her. Everything would end here. But her story no longer belonged to them. Cart stopped. Sanson stepped down. Offered hand. She met his eyes. No, thank you. I can manage. Climbed down alone. Steps to scaffold slow. Tied hands shaky. Refused help. Ascended. Blade glinted. No terror in her eyes. Only calm. Almost otherworldly. Sanson guided her. Foot brushed his. She turned. Soft, gentle, forgive me, sir. I did not do it on purpose. Simple apology. Human. Stunned the crowd. Even executioners paused. That tiny politeness, her last triumph. Assistants laid her on plank. Long live the Republic. Thousands roared. Signal. Snap. Blade fell. Body still. Head raised by pale hair. Cheers exploded. Long live the nation. For them, victory. For her, release. Witnesses later swore peace lingered on her face. Sky seemed to darken. Body carted away. No coffin. No prayers. Thrown in mass grave at Madeleine Cemetery. Among strangers. Soil and silence, they buried her like a criminal. Erased her name. Thought the story ended. But symbols don't stay buried. Years passed. Revolution ate its own. Robespierre fell. In 1815, her remains, identified by white cloth scraps and bound wrists, were moved to St. Denis Basilica with French kings. At last, a tomb. Yet her true legacy lived in that final apology. Compassion in cruelty. Dignity no blade could steal. Marie Antoinette wasn't a saint or monster. She was a woman caught in fear and fury's storm. Privilege and suffering. Those who tried to destroy her gave her strange immortality. Centuries later, her quiet grace endures. In every tale of power's fall, injustice's echo, a whisper remains. There was a woman who met world hatred with humanity. If this touched you, like, subscribe, comment what you feel about her now. History judged her harshly. But maybe we finally understand.